And welcome back to the booth here at PT Pro Tour Magic 25th Anniversary. It's great to have you along. My name's Riley, joined by Paul Cheon out of R&D at Wizards, and round number 3 is ready to go. The players are seated in the feature match area, so let's go down and let's get to it.
Oh, it's Lazy Helix! Oh my God!
Oh, easy game!
He didn't block and that was it!
What have you done? What is it? What is it? What is it? Huey Jensen is your world champion!
Hello, my friends, and welcome to continued coverage of Pro Tour 25th Anniversary, live from Minneapolis, USA. My name's Riley Knight, joined by Paul Cheon from Wizards R&D, and we're going to get underway with some more Legacy. You know it and you love it, and we've got it to give here. We have Ben Friedman playing against Galdenis Vidugiris. There is Ben Friedman on your screen. He's playing, geez, he's playing a weird one, isn't he? He's just got his favorite modern deck, and he's like, hey, I'm sure this would be better with a Brainstorm and Force of Will.
He's playing some Delver.
He's playing
Delver, but now you get to see a few more different flavors of Delver with the recent bannings of Deathrite Shaman. So now that you no longer have Deathrite Shaman as a one-mana creature to play, what do you play?
You go to the next
You got to go to other
creature.
formats and see what people are playing.
And it's Death
And
Shadow.
Ben Friedman is playing just straight blue-black Delver with Death Shadow.
Let's talk about his opponent, Galdenis Vidugiris. You saw him there on your screen. He's playing Eldrazi Stompy, one of these aggressive prison-style decks here. And this is a list that relies on things like Chalice of the Void.
Okay, so here we go.
Thorn of Amethyst.
Galdenis is going for it.
Ooh, this
Chalice of the Void for 1 completely shuts down like 90% of this deck.
This is super, super rough here because what happens now, Friedman has managed to sneak in a Delver of Secrets before that Chalice of the Void came down. But what this means here for Friedman is that essentially almost his entire deck gets countered by that Chalice.
Yeah, this deck is playing 16 lands, and it's got a ton of cheap cantrips to kind of dig through the deck. But when you have a Chalice for 1, that shuts down almost your entire strategy. Galdenis was basically hoping that Ben didn't have either one of his 4 Force of Wills or one of his 4 Dazes to be able to counter this Chalice of the Void for 1. And so this is huge. Now, all Galdenis needs to do is just be able to outrace this Delver of Secrets or have a removal spell potentially to deal with it.
It's critical as well that Friedman was on the play here, given that Vidugiris had the turn 1 Chalice. We don't often see turn 1 Chalice. In Legacy, it's a lot more likely thanks to things like Ancient Tomb, City of Traitors, Lotus Petal. In Modern, it's much more difficult to achieve the turn 1 Chalice, but no less devastating. A Wasteland as well. Vidugiris all in on that disruptive, interactive plan, and here's an Eldrazi Mimic.
So the reason why he went for the Wasteland here was to prevent Ben Friedman from playing a Snuff Out for free, because you need to control a swamp to be able to cast that Snuff Out, and that is the way that Ben could try to race Galdenis Vidugiris' Eldrazi army.
Well, Friedman has found another swamp off the top. It's a Watery Grave, not one we often see in Legacy. Usually the Underground Sea is seen as the better pick, but when you're playing Death Shadow, hey, the 2 damage, you'll take it.
Right, absolutely. There's actually more Watery Graves in this deck than Underground Sea, because you want to be able to make sure that you can fetch and shock to play the Watery Graves so that you can get that Death Shadow out on in a timely manner.
Anyone even with a
look at that Chalice counters 1, 2, 3, 4 spells.
Yeah,
4 spells.
Yeah, it's a beat. It's a real beat for Friedman here. Anyone who with even a passing familiarity of the Modern format, Paul, will know the power of Death Shadow. It has been ported over to Legacy in this kind of very, very happy marriage of the core blue cards, Daze, Force of Will, Brainstorm, with these hard-hitting black threats.
All right, but keep in mind, this is actually a close race. One of Galdenis' mana sources is an Ancient Tomb. He's already down to 8 life. 3 hits from the Delver, and it's game over.
So, Vidugiris now exiles a Brainstorm.
And the thing is, Galdenis can't actually use that Ancient Tomb again, because if he does, that's a 2-turn clock from the Delver. The Delver has now put him down to 5 life. Is this Delver just going to go all the way?
It looks like it. This is the reward you get for playing Delver of Secrets and having it flip turn 2, which of course always happens to my opponents, never
Right.
to me, but that's the way that it works here. And Friedman is reaping the rewards. That snuff out took care of Eldrazi Mimic, so it couldn't get in for 4 that turn. And Friedman is really forcing Vidugiris to have something here because he can't activate that Ancient Tomb.
Right. Oh, Godennis does have a pretty interesting card. I think he's holding an Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth, which allows him to use the Ancient Tomb as a way to tap for black mana without taking damage. The question is if he has a play in hand, but he doesn't. His hand is just all lands in a Reality Smasher, and he couldn't play the Reality Smasher this turn because if he did, he would have just died to Delver. So I think this is just going to be it.
Yeah, so Friedman way ahead at this point. This Delver has gone all the way, and this, I have to say, is a classic demonstration of the razor-thin margin of Legacy games. We're seeing him win with 1 creature and 1 land in play, and that to me is it's classic Legacy.
Godennis needed like a walking to draw like a walking ballista or something to deal with the Delver, and that turn 1 Delver just did all of it. That's all he needed to do the entire game.
Entire distance. Yep, and that's what happens. This is why we see Delver of Secrets as one of the premier threats in the format. It's why there's the Brainstorms, the Ponders, the Preordains to set it up, because sometimes a 3/2 flyer on turn number 2 backed up with enough interaction.
He cast 2 spells that game. That's all he needed.
He cast a Snuff Out
and
a Delver of Secrets.
That's it.
And Vidugiris just kind of juggled this hand grenade around.
The key to Legacy, just play 2 spells.
That is that, my friends, for game number 1. But, of course, we've got plenty more Magic coming your way for the rest of round number 3. We're going to go to a quick break, but stick with us, because on the other side of this, we'll be back live from Minneapolis here at Pro Tour 25th Anniversary.
Check out Booster Draft Leagues on Magic Online. Draft anytime, play anytime. For more info, visit mtgo.com.
And welcome back to the feature match area here at Pro Tour 25th Anniversary. Riley Knight, Paul Cheon with you in the booth. We're going to jump over to our second table here and get underway with some Modern. Fire up those engines, my friends. It's time for the best format in Magic, in my opinion. Let's get underway here. Having a look at Stanislav Cifka and Ondřej Stráský. And there is Cifka. You'll recognize him, of course, a Pro Tour champion. And he's got a real spicy one this weekend, Paul.
Right. He is playing an archetype that you haven't seen too much play, but it's actually seen a resurgence given the printing of Supreme Phantom. So you can guess what he's on.
Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to see too much more of it there as it get locks up there. But yes, indeed, we can talk about Banned Spirits just briefly. Supreme Phantom joining Drogskull Captain as a very cheap and efficient Spirit Lord there, and surprisingly, a surprising amount of depth to modern playable spirits.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, the combination of just by adding the Supreme Phantoms to your deck, you've now added 8 Lords to your deck. So you can just play any number. Even cards like Mausoleum Wanderer get so much better as long as it gets pumped up, right?
Yeah,
because now it's an evasive creature that can counter a lot of different strategies. So this is really exciting to see, and it looked like it fell to Ondřej Stráský's Humans deck just there.
Unsurprising. This is one of the premier aggro decks in the format.
It'll be interesting to see like how this matchup actually plays out. And I'm very interested to see more games of this matchup actually.
Well, we'll see if we can check in with Modern a little bit later on. But right now we are going to move back to Legacy. We're going to move over and check in with Galdanis Vidugiris and Ben Friedman once again. Ben Friedman, I think it's fair to say, he delved his opponent out of it. Gao never really seemed to be in it in game number 1, despite, Paul, a Chalice for 1 on turn 1.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely one of those situations where if Galdanis is on the play, he just flat out wins that game. Because Ben Friedman would not have been able to cast any spells. So, but yeah, that Delver did go in for a bunch of damage. That Ancient Tomb was just way too punishing for Galdanis to be able to muster up enough of an offense to attack.
We do traditionally see the Eldrazi lists. Okay. Well, there you go. All right. Well, thanks for playing, ladies and gentlemen. It's been great to have you here
for force of will
for game number 2 of this Legacy match. But I mean, okay, what is Friedman's percentage right now? Like, what is his percentage to win this game?
Very, very
like
low.
1%.
Something like that. His entire deck is basically 1-drops, and then the only threat that he can actually resolve is Gurmag Angler. So what he needs to do is cycle a bunch, fetch a bunch, play a bunch of spells that get countered by Chalice of the Void, just to be able to play a Gurmag Angler. And that's just one of 2 Anglers. That's it.
Just to fill up his graveyard so he can deploy the 5/5. But by then, of course, Vidugiris will have already raced ahead with his 5/5s, with his 4/4s. And you can see how important the turn 1 Chalice is, given that Vidugiris played his City of Traitors turn 1. Never when you really want to play.
I mean, if you can resolve that Chalice on turn 1, that will just be the game.
Thought-Knot Seer on turn 2? Yep. This is better stuff from Galdanis Vidugiris.
You know what actually just surprises me a little bit is just the fact that we've seen a lot of Eldrazi Stompy decks in this tournament, and I don't know how much a lot of these professionals test Legacy on a regular basis, but if you're looking to play a format where you're not super familiar with like how to resolve the best brainstorms, I mean the format's really, especially if you play a blue deck, perhaps we're going to see more Eldrazi Stompy just moving forward because, if you have a team where nobody is a Legacy specialist, this is the deck where you just play out all your things, and it's still capable of being, going toe-to-toe with some of these powerful blue decks.
So, Paul, would you like to know how many cards in Friedman's hand will have an impact on the game right now?
Oh, he's got an important one in that Gurmag Angler.
No, it's gone, man. It's gone.
It's been
way out
Thought-Knot
of here.
Seared.
It's been Thought-Knot Seared right out the game here. So, Ben Friedman is holding 4 pieces of blank cardboard and 2 lands.
Right.
It is not a great position for him to be in, to put it mildly.
Right.
Yeah. Gal is running rings around his opponent this time. Vidugiris just going from strength to strength. The turn 1 Chalice, the turn 2 4/4 that gets a good look at the hand of Friedman here. He gets out a Watery Grave. Oh, okay. That looked like an edict to me here.
Yeah. Is that a Diabolic Edict?
It is a Diabolic Edict. That's coming out the board. All right, so that's an answer to the Thought-Knot Seer here, which is going to draw Friedman a card. But still.
Right.
Death Shadow, Ponder, Fatal Push, they do nothing.
Right, and the thing is, he still just, all he has now, I mean, given that the Gurmag Angler was taken, he only has a singular Gurmag Angler left to try to win this game. Let me see if he actually has an answer. Blue-Black typically doesn't have too many answers to deal with a resolved artifact. Seeing if there's something like a Hurkyl's Recall or something like that, and no, I don't see anything. Oh, he might have brought this in. He's got a few Ratchet Bombs in his sideboard.
Okay,
and, generally not very good against the rest of the Eldrazi deck.
No, but a critical answer.
But yeah, it is an answer to Chalice of the Void, and it also does answer Endless One.
The nice thing about the Ratchet Bomb, of course, is that despite 2 mana being used to cast the Chalice of the Void, the Ratchet Bomb kills it the second it comes down.
Right,
it comes down, you sacrifice it straight away using the second ability, and the CMC of the Chalice is still 0.
Right. It was 2 mana to cast, but the CMC is 0 when it's on the battlefield.
Yeah. So that's going to be an important card for Friedman, and he does need to find it. Maybe our 1% estimate was a little pessimistic here.
Did Ben Friedman not choose to draw a card off Thought-Knot Seer?
Yes.
So it looks like we're going to have a judge resolve this situation. Why don't we tune in and see what's going on the floor? So it looks like Dennis Vidugiris may have missed his own trigger from the Thought Not Seer there. Of course, he's the one in control of the trigger. He's the one who needs to announce it. The judges stepped in to resolve that situation. Ben Friedman draws his card, and the game continues here. So Friedman does need to find a way forward, continue to contest that.
Okay, he's got some removal. He
So
drew
a
a snuff
snuff out.
out.
All
so
right.
He has answers to some.
Still
and
treading
he
water a
still
little
has
bit.
that one Gurmag Angler and potentially Ratchet Bombs if he chose to bring those in out of the sideboard.
Still kind of treading water here, though, Paul, as we see Vidugiris. Wow, these tapping mana. And
This looks like a Reality Smasher.
yeah, Reality Smasher. Tap 2 lands, put a Reality Smasher into play.
Plenty
Not
of
a bad-
cards to discard with that
Oh, dear.
with the snuff out. So he's going to take 4 damage here and discarding one of his many 1-mana cards.
He's just an embarrassment of riches, Paul,
Right,
for him
yeah.
to choose from. What's he going to go for? Which
Choose a
one
card, any
mana
card.
will I discard here?
Discard this.
Looks like it's going to be a fatal push here.
Yeah.
Yep. So Snuff Out, as you can see on the screen, is certainly a weird one. Not the type of card we see very often in, with the free alternate cost. The closest analog I would say is something like Dismember.
Right.
But yeah.
But a great addition to this deck specifically because you are playing Death Shadow.
Of course. Yep. Yeah. That 4 life is often a very useful cost to pay when you're looking to, get the most out of your Death Shadows.
Yeah, it's basically like a free Dismember. It's a Dismember that costs no mana in this deck.
And another Eldrazi Temple for Vidugiris, whose hand isn't terrific. He's holding 2 lands. Oh, sorry, 1 land now as he plays that Eldrazi Temple and a Dismember.
And drew another land, but now he's getting to the point where he might be able to actually activate his Eye of Ugin.
Oh, yeah,
And start
and-
fetching some colorless creatures.
And start getting some creatures, start getting some business here as Friedman draws. I think is another fatal push.
Yep, that's expected. This
So-
deck is playing something like 31 drops.
Yeah, I think the converted mana cost of this deck is like 0.9. And so now another land. They'll land up as 6. This is a very weird game,
Oh!
but
That's a Ratchet
a
Bomb.
Ratchet Bomb to unlock the rest of his hand. A huge draw for Friedman here. Vidugiris with nothing to
Hand
say about
unlocked.
it.
And then there's
Blam,
that,
get you.
and then there's
One,
2 Death
2.
Shadows.
And all of a sudden, this game has been turned on its head, Paul. And despite the fact that Friedman is on 6, he now has 2 7/7 monsters that have just come out of nowhere.
Yeah, and these Death Shadows are just bigger than pretty much any creature that Godennis can draw.
I mean, he finds like an endless one or something like that. It's going to be huge, but all the same, Friedman is in a terrific spot. He's got that fatal push to deal with something like that. And all of a sudden, the flip has been done script.
Right, and now Godennis needs to draw some big threats. Ben Friedman can start attacking fairly soon. He's also got... Did he use the Snuff Out? Oh, no, he used the Snuff Out already. But he does have a Fatal Push.
He's got double fatal push.
He's got double Fatal Push. He's got... Yeah, I mean, his hand has been completely unlocked. Wow.
So a
very
key
timely
draw.
draw.
I mean, he absolutely had to find that Ratchet
Yes.
Bomb, or that was going to be it. And now Gardenis Vidugiris, after a
what
blistering
happened?
start, he's like, what happened here?
Yeah.
was going so well.
That Dismember is not doing anything here. If anything, Yeah, the Dismember will only be able to shrink the Death Shadows down to 2/2s, and he's now got a Thorn of Amethyst in play.
Not a bad
which will slow down some of the removal that
It will.
Friedman has, but Friedman is currently sitting on 4 lands.
And it's a lot worse, yeah, when you've got 4 to 5 lands in play, when, your Dismembers, or sorry, your Fatal Pushes, they cost 2 instead of 1. That's
Right.
huge on turn 1, turn 2. But right now, I mean, Friedman can beat it. Friedman can play around it for sure. Vidugiris does need some more pressure, but I don't know how he beats these Death Shadows. He doesn't have it.
The only card Friedman needs to be very, very scared of is, I would say, a Reality Smasher off the top, right? That's going to be a tough one to deal with. So he has to decide, what he wants to do with these Death Shadows. I feel like it's going to be minimum 1 of them attacking in, but it's possible he chooses to go with 2. He can play a Delver and use Fatal Push to deal with the Eldrazi Mimic.
So you're saying the Reality Smasher is a problem if Friedman wants to start getting aggressive? Because obviously he can just sit behind those 7/7s, but that's
Right.
not winning him the game.
Exactly. So it looks like he's just choosing to attack with 1, play a little bit safer here. And Godennis now has
Free Ancient Tomb off the top, thanks to
Ancient
that,
Tomb off the top. So, and Ben
Reshaper.
Friedman does have that Wasteland. He's going to use this on the Eye of Ugin because now Godennis does have the mana to use Eye of Ugin to start fetching out Eldrazi.
So Wasteland, and it looks like in response, Vidugiris is going to do exactly what you say. Oh no, it's an Ancient.
Oh, okay. Is he going to get the Ancient? No,
Is
I'm
Ancient-
assuming it's the Eye of Ugin.
Sure.
He has way too much mana in play.
Yeah, Eye of Ugin. Too much of a threat here for Friedman.
So now we have Delver and likely keeping a Fatal Push here.
Yep.
In case Godennis does happen to draw something like a Reality Smasher off the top.
Looking like he might actually cast this
Oh, he's
Ponder
going for
here
the Ponder
to
instead.
guarantee the flip. Or not
Oh, of
quite
course.
guarantee,
He has a Death
but-
Shadow back, so the Death Shadow does deal with the Reality Smasher.
So
this makes sense.
So what Friedman's up to here, casting this Ponder, going to have a look at the top 3 and put an instant or sorcery back on top. I mean, look, we say it as though it's a foregone conclusion. Yes, technically he could hit 3 lands, 2 lands and a creature, whatever. But the 1-2 punch of Delver plus Ponder almost certainly means you've got a 3-2.
You have an incredibly high likelihood, something 90% or so, to find a spell within the top 3 cards.
You do. When you're saying you mean the universal you.
Right,
We're
right,
not
right,
singling
right.
out anyone in this, particular booth here. Do you know that song that Ben Folds wrote about you? The Luckiest? You never heard it?
No,
Okay.
no. So Godennis does use that Dismember to finish off one of the Death Shadows. He has an Urborg in play too, so he didn't have to take any damage.
I don't believe I tapped the eye already when it died.
And now there's a Ponder. Is there a spell?
Maybe there's not. He's
Oh,
shuffling.
there's a shuffle.
Okay, well, look, I'm very glad that I covered our bases there talking about the fact that it's not guaranteed, because the big shuffle here for Ben Friedman, Vidugiris going to add his effort to this, and now we'll see what's off the top now for Friedman. He needs an instant or sorcery, kind of blind flip, a daze.
Which not going to do a whole lot.
Bit
on
of a
this board.
stinker, Paul.
Right.
Bit of a stinker.
All right, what does Godennis find? He wants a gigantic Eldrazi here. He doesn't have the Eye of Ugin anymore. So we're just top. Oh, and that's an endless one. However, endless one dies to Fatal.
It does to Fatal Push real nice. Now, the other thing I want to point out very quickly here, Paul, is that Vidugiris responded to the Ponder with the Dismember. And it is so important that he did that because Friedman drew the daze off the Ponder,
Right.
which
Very, very
would
good
have
timing.
wrecked the Dismember. And getting dazed when you've got 6 lands in play is the worst.
Right, right.
You don't want to just like uninstall Magic Online at that point. You want to uninstall essentially your entire existence.
Yeah. I mean, if somehow he let the Ponder resolve, it's likely that he would have chosen to take 2 points of damage off the Dismember and take to play around the
To have to play around
Right.
the daze, yeah.
But a very heads-up play there, just using it in response to the Ponder.
So,
Does he want to
Vidugiris
play
now-
around
Is he tapping
daze?
out? Is he going to get dazed with 6 lands in hand?
He might keep one floating here.
He's going for the full amount.
Oh, no. He has a Cavern of Souls. He has a Cavern
Oh,
of
can't be
Souls.
counted.
Right.
Boo. Boo. That would have been so sick. Because Friedman even kept up the...
Right. So this is a 10-10
the watery
endless
grave there.
one.
So now it's a huge endless one. And now an attack with the Eldrazi Mimic as a 10-10, but Delver of Secrets has to jump under that particular
But Ben
bus
Friedman does have double Fatal Push here, so he can use the Fatal Pushes to deal with both of the threats on Godennis' board.
So away goes Endless One, number 1.
He doesn't really have to be afraid of counter magic here. He should probably play the land so he can use Fatal Push and also cast Daze. Very unlikely that Daze actually does something, though.
Yeah, especially with that Cavern of Souls. That was a key pickup for you there,
Right.
Paul. I was too excited, blinded by my excitement there. And Friedman with the help of Oliver Tiu behind him. You can see Tiu there. A recent Grand Prix finalist, came second at Grand Prix Pittsburgh there.
He actually has a very good team Grand Prix record, I believe.
Yeah.
Multiple top 4s, especially when it comes to constructed team events.
I mean, overall, his career win rate is 66%.
Right.
And
So now we're looking at a 9/9 Death Shadow. If Ben Friedman just finds a way to take 2 damage, you know, a Thoughtseize, a cycled Street Wraith, that'll get it done here.
Yeah, I know all the tricks. Death Shadow.
I know all the tricks with Death Shadows, says Ben Friedman.
Drawing Death Shadow, is that the trick?
Yeah, drawing it, playing it, attacking with it.
Hey, this.
You can hear the debate going on between Friedman and Tiu here. Friedman as well. This is his 25th Pro Tour. Debuted in San Juan in 2010, so he's been around.
Oh, I
he's
see
been
what he's
around a fair
doing. This
bit.
is great. So what Ben Friedman is doing is playing Death Shadow on the stack, use Daze to pick up Watery Grave, play Watery Grave untapped for lethal damage.
Oh, he's going to shock himself with the with the watery grave.
That's what he was referring to when he said he knew all the
He
tricks.
knows all the tricks.
Yeah.
He knows all the tricks, does Ben Friedman.
I'm at 4.
So,
He's at 11, right? Yeah.
Friedman on
Right.
4. You can hear this conversation panning out. Daze, pay, return the watery grave, replay the watery grave, take 2, attack you. Thanks for playing, my friend. It's been marvelous. And this is the way that it's going to go
Great
here with
play by Ben
Vidugiris. No
Friedman.
blockers, an extension of the hand. Ben Friedman winning an incredible game of Magic there, my friends. He knows all the tricks.
He beat Chalice for one, turn one,
Yeah.
both games with Delver.
Yeah, and that's like
Easy game.
That's
Easy
how
game.
it's going to
Easy
go.
life.
Easy game, easy life. Let's move over now and have a look at what's
Oh,
going on between
This is an easy
Stanislav
board to
Cifka
figure out, I'm sure.
and Ondřej Stráský. Looks
Right.
like we got a couple of meddling mages here in the face of this Spirit's Onslaught from Cifka here.
Yeah, it looks like Andre firmly in the lead here.
Certainly when it comes to cards on the battlefield anyway.
Right.
So we've got double meddling mage naming Drogskull captain. That obviously is the card that Stráský is worried about here. And we're going to be here just in time again to see Stanislav Cifka pick up his cards very quickly. We just couldn't get any juice out of this particular orange this time around, my friends. And with that win, you can see the small smile on the face of Ondřej Stráský. He takes it out for his team. The last one, a wash. So that is that, my friends, for our matches here. With, again, the team of Ben Friedman, Oliver Tiu, and Ondřej Stráský winning it. I know we didn't get a chance to look at the Banned Spirits list, Paul, but let's just have a chat about all the same. I know that our viewers will be very interested to hear the sort of the ins and outs of this deck, so let's talk about what it's all about.
Yeah, so what the Spirits deck is looking to do is it's basically kind of, you're one of the disruptive aggressive decks that you can play in the format. Very similar to humans, actually.
Yeah.
But this deck actually has, it attacks at a different angle because basically all the creatures have evasion. So basically, if you're kind of racing back and forth, this deck is able to kind of go over the top because everything flies. And with the addition of something like Supreme Phantom, with the 4 copies of Drogskull Captain, you're basically able to just kind of amass an army of gigantic flyers and close games out. The issue it looked like in this specific matchup is just that the humans deck was a little bit faster.
Yeah.
It had the Champion of the Parish, you have your Thali's Lieutenant, you're able to just go wide. And even a card like Reflector Mage just does a ton of work.
I've heard many of the creature-based, the disruptive aggressive strategies. For example, Merfolk, right?
Right.
I hear this described in Modern as bad humans.
Yeah.
I think it's an apt way to describe a list that is doing the same thing, although slightly worse than the humans list. But I think I make an exception here for this spirits list because there are a couple of angles that the humans deck doesn't cover. Evasion is one of them, and I really think that's a great pickup from you there. The second is Collected Company.
Right.
This blue-based instant heavy deck can play with something like Collected Company to huge effect.
Yeah. And the thing is, I mean, this is something that we saw in Standard, right? You can play Collected Company and hit cards like Spell Queller as a way to just have additional disruption against, various combo decks. Like, I know Humans is already a pretty good deck against combos, but this deck is also quite strong. You have cards like Spell Queller, and because you have a real mana base, you can actually sideboard in cards like Rest in Peace, cards like Unified Will, and actual
negate
spells.
or dispel
Whereas
or
humans,
whatever.
you're only really limited to humans. That's pretty much the only thing you can actually fit into your deck.
Because of the reliance on Ancient Ziggurat, on unclaimed territory.
Unclaimed territory cards like that, yeah.
The other card I want to talk about in this list, and again, if you haven't seen this list, I'm sure it'll be making the rounds online at some point, before the end of the weekend, because it's rising and rising on people's radars. Another card I want to talk about that's really important in this list is the Selfless Spirit. Now, we've seen the impact that Humans has had on the modern format, especially with Meddling Mage. Supreme Verdict is a great answer to these creature decks. Meddling Mage forces people that then play Wrath of God, Day of Judgment, what have you.
Right.
What is really important in this deck is that Selfless Spirit, it doesn't matter what Wrath effect you're playing, Selfless Spirit is the perfect answer.
Yeah, it is basically this version of Meddling Mage for sweepers, right? This is the way, you need to have an answer for the Selfless Spirit on top of having the sweeper. So you need to have spot removal plus a sweeper. On top of that, this deck also plays, again, cards like Spell Queller to give you additional ways to deal with those sweepers.
Well, we'll see if there's any more action coming the way of Banned Spirits, my friends. But right now, we've got to go to a break. So stick with us on the other side of this. More action live from Minneapolis.
The one card I spend the most time thinking about and discussing about is Gift and Given, because I've already said that I would love to play a game where the only thing you do in the game is resolve gift and given. And one player does a stack, and the other one chooses which card he gives to the other player. And there is a clear winner and a clear loser because, well, I mean, there is so much mind game, right? And I actually did that with a friend, where we actually chose a pile of cards and created various situations, and just someone created a pack of 4 cards, and you have to choose like the right 2. And it was actually a lot of mind game, and that's definitely my favorite card ever.
I'd say one Magic card that means a lot to me is Natural Order, because that's not only just a super fun, powerful card, and green is probably my favorite color in all of Magic, but the first deck that I ever built and did well with in a Grand Prix tournament was a Legacy deck featuring Natural Order for Progenitus, and it's just been one of my favorite cards ever since that.
Yeah, when I acquired the original Art Shadow Mage Infiltrator a few years ago, I was very, very happy. You know, when it had first been printed, you know, I was 22 years old or something, and I was like, the original art, like, why do I care? You know, it doesn't matter. And I always, you know, regretted that a little bit. And then about 4 or 5 years ago, I was able to come across the original art again, and now it's hanging in my apartment.
Hi there, welcome back to the News Desk. Marie Bartholdi and Simon Gertzen hanging out with you. A few quick results from the floor. We are still pretty early into round 3 here, but we do have a couple of teams at 3-0 that I wanted to mention already. Lip, Ashton, and Wu are at 3-0 over Tierney, Ward, and Wesco, and I actually had a chance to talk to Craig Wesco and Dan Ward a few minutes ago, and Dan's playing my favorite deck, my pet deck, Boggles, and it's his pet deck too, so that's pretty cool to see. Another team early on, 3-0, Friedman, Stráský, and Tiu. All right, so BDM is standing by with Lucas Esper-Bertu. Find out what he has to say about the tournament so far.
Thanks, Maria. Here at Pro Tour 25th anniversary, Lucas, we've been talking a lot about people's favorite Magic cards. Let me ask you, 25 years of Magic history, what's your favorite Magic card?
It's Gideon, Elias Zendikar.
Now, not really surprising. That was a big part of the winning deck, of course. Lucas, a Pro Tour champion, a Pro Tour Aether Revolt. That was a big part of that victory. But that was not the format you're playing this weekend. You're playing Legacy. How much Legacy experience do you have before this Pro Tour?
I didn't have much experience until last year. Then after New Year, I just started playing Legacy nonstop. I created an account on Magic Online. It was called Legacy Master. I didn't have no games under my belt. I did my best to learn the format. I thought I was getting good at it. And then they banned my 2 favorite decks. And it was a relearning process. I spent a lot of time trying to figure out not a good choice. I don't think I have a great deck for today, but it was the best I could do with the time I had.
If we go back in time 3 months ago, and I ask you what deck you were going to play at the Pro Tour and Legacy, what deck would it have been?
Oh, 4-color control. That deck was great. Like, there was never Mana Screw or Mana Flood because of the cantrips. He had answers for everything. And when I lost a game, I would look at the replay, and I could figure out exactly why I lost. There was a reason for it. It was just like peak Magic experience for me. It was a ton of fun.
Now, your teammates for this Pro Tour, obviously the whole overall team, Team Harry Latin, in a great spot. In second place coming into the event. How did you guys break up your 2 teams for this Pro Tour?
So we have me, Luis Salvato, and Sebastian Pozo. We thought it was a good combination because Pozo, he's the Standard Master, he's playing Standard. Salvato is a Pro Tour champion, he's playing in Modern, he's playing that format here. And I'm old, and so I'm playing Legacy, so we're all worked out fine.
You're a Legacy Master, as I understand it.
Yeah, right. And then we have Carlos, Marcio, and Thiago with the other 2.
And how are the teams doing so far? How do things look as we get into this 4th round on day 1?
We both lost our rounds in the first round, but now we're coming back. I think we're both 2-1 right now.
All right, Lucas, thanks so much for talking to us, and good luck with the rest of this tournament and the next 25 years of Magic.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Thanks so much, BDM. Well, it is time to get a closer look at the metagame of this 3-format tournament. It's time for the metagame Mega Mix.